Welcome children. This is Deepa Fadke. In this session, we will be learning Standard 8 History, Chapter 1, Sources of History. Children, before we start learning sources of history, let's learn about the background. See, last year we have studied these sources of ancient and medieval Indian history. This year we will learn the sources of modern Indian history, which includes material sources, written sources, oral sources, as well as sources based on modern technology such as audio, video, and audio visual sources. So let's begin with the material sources. What comes under material sources, children? Monuments, places, coins, sculptures, various objects that can be included in the material sources of history. Sources like monuments. Children, which monuments or what are the material sources that are very famous in Pune? You can take an example of Shaniwar Wada. Let's learn about buildings and places. In the period of modern Indian history, various buildings, bridges, roads, water supply system, even fountains were built. These buildings include government offices, educational institutions, residence of officers, forts, prisons, etc. Example, cellular jail in Andaman. When these sites or these places, these buildings are visited, they provide us information about the contemporary history. What do you mean by contemporary, children? Contemporary means available or prevalent at that particular time. Even we get information about Swatantra Veer Vinayak Damodar Savarkar if we visit the cellular jail in Andaman. In short, we get information about so many things, about the social aspect, about the political aspect, about the religious aspect of human beings at that particular period of time. We get information about Gandhiji when we visit Mani Bhavan in Mumbai, even Sevagram Ashram at Wardha. Do you know, children, about museums and history? For the study of history, various objects, paintings, photographs, and such other things are preserved in a museum. At the Aga Khan Palace in Pune, we can see different objects, documents giving us information about the life of Mahatma Gandhi. Let's learn about statues and memorials. What are statues, children? You might have seen on the road. Now we are staying in Pune, so you must have seen the statue of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in camp. So there are so many statues which are erected in the memory of these great people, great leaders, national leaders, social thinkers who have really contributed to the human beings, to the society of human beings. For their contribution, to keep them in our mind, these statues are erected. During the pre-independence and post-independence period, many memorials of great personalities, national leaders, educationists, social thinkers were erected in the form of statues. These statues, and along with them the display plaque, the piece of stone where the written information is provided, give us the information about those personalities, their birth, their death details, their contribution, biographical sketch, etc. Example, statues of Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, Lokmanya Tilak, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar are erected. Some memorials are erected which give us information of some events, period, people related to it, such as Hutatma Smarak at various places. So we need to understand that even these the memory of some great people, great personalities, some buildings are erected so that they give us information to us, they give us their personal information to us, we can get back. Along with this, there is a display plaque. On this plaque, on this piece of information about them is also provided to us, like their details about their birth, death, even what contribution they have sketches written, like their parents, and all other details are also provided over there. So we get to know, we get more information, stone or before we start learning about written sources. Let me ask, did you understand about the material sources? Considered to be material sources? Sources like buildings, monuments, etc. to be materials. Same way now we will learn about written sources. Considered to be written sources? Sources that can be read, So correspondence, foreign accounts, newspapers, biographies, periodicals. So what do you mean by original documents that are made available in the pre-independence period? Now similar to these documents or documents that provide the information which is similar to the original document as correspondence. So correspondence, foreign accounts, newspapers. Now children, which newspapers were prevalent in pre-independence? There were newspapers like Amrut Bazar Patrika, Kesari, Hindu, Maratha. These were the newspapers. Even if we just go back into the past, these newspapers become source prehistory or history in the pre-independence period. So it provides a lot of information, source of information to us. Then biographies that are written by others. When someone writes, an author writes about the life of great personality. Biographies. Autobiographies, when a person himself writes something about his own life, becomes autobiography. Then books, factory records, published after a particular period of time. Like some periodicals are published weekly, some are daily, some like after every fortnight, after as periodicals, factory records, biographies, autobiographies, books, the greatest source of information about history to us. Let's learn about this newspapers and periodicals. Children, we have learnt about periodicals. In the pre-independence period, newspapers like Jnanodaya, Amrit Bazar Patrika, Dinabandhu, Kesari, these newspapers awakening the minds of the newspapers provide us information of content which we can study the British policies regarding India as well as its effects. So newspapers serve as an important social reformation. Nibandhamala by Vishnu Shastri Shatapatre written by Lok Hiswadi Gopal Hari in the weekly Prabhakar comments on various important social and cultural issues. These tremendous historical happenings. Now also there are some references. Even these newspapers, their cuttings are available. These newspapers and find out the social India. Let's know about Dr. Ambedkar and his newspapers. In 19 means every after 15 days published. But then he had to leave for his higher education, so he handed over it to his colleague. Then in 1927 started the newspaper Bharat for bringing unity. Started other two newspapers also, namely Janata and Prabhutva Bharat. Children, you can see the sign, the picture provided on the. So in short, there are Prabhutva Bharat, Bahishkrut Bharat, these newspapers started this newspaper to bring about unity among the people, independence of India. The remaining part of the lesson at that time, read the lesson, tick mark answers in the textbook, and copy in your class. Thank you.